Good people, what's going on? Good morning. Welcome to a Dome Shorts. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna hold you long, man. I had some thoughts last night. Just looking at TV, listening to music, and I was thinking about in each genre of music, there are child prodigies or just young people in general who people placed a lot of expectations on. And they thought it was gonna be some type of greatness happen, and the expectation was way higher than their peers or people that was close to their age group. It was just potential pressure, and a lot of times a certain energy stop these people from reaching that potential. It could be outside influences where they grew up at, parents, friends, whatever, but they never could make it to that level. Something happened. And then you have those special cases where a person like LeBron James with 18, 17, 18-year old on the front of Sports Illustrated called The Chosen One. And then some people playing pickup games with him. He's playing pickup ball with some pros as a teenager. And now certain pros are telling these stories like, man, when I saw this dude as a teenager, I thought he was the best player on the floor, and it was other pros on the floor. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I'll give you a quick example before I get back to music. I was living in Durham, North Carolina when the year before Kyrie Irving came to Duke. And a coworker of mine said, hey, man, let's go to the Pro-Am. See these young boys play some ball. I said, word. Okay, so we went over there, and it was a lot of pros, NBA guys and guys from overseas. And it was just this kid, this point guard. And after the first half, I said, well, who is that kid right there, man? Because he's the best player on the floor. And my man was like, that's that kid Kyrie Irving going to Duke. And I'm like, well, he's a prodigy, man. So then obviously he goes to Duke, plays like 12, 13 games because of injuries, and the number one pick in the draft. Next thing you know, he ended up being possibly the most skilled guard in the history of the NBA. Go on YouTube and put in Kyrie's greatest moves. I've never seen nothing like it. LeBron exceeded expectations. You know what I'm saying? Back to the music. You think about, I was watching La Bamba one time with Richie Valens. You know what I'm saying? And, obviously, he died in a plane crash. And another guy named Buddy Holly died in a plane crash as well. And people thought that it was the day, they said in a big bubble. And it was calling this the day that rock and roll died or something like that, because what people thought was going to happen, they saw the potential in Richie Valens and Buddy Holly, and they was like, they might be something different. But when I said a few minutes ago, sometimes situations happen. Sometimes it's out of people's control. Unfortunately, these young men, they were teenagers, died in a plane crash, excuse me. It leads me into, let's think about Motown. A young Marvin Gaye playing drums and playing backup for bands and stuff like that. He turns into Marvin Gaye. Nobody thought that was going to happen. So he surprised people. But Stevie Wonder, on the other hand, was a child prodigy. So was Ray Charles. And they were blind. So you're talking about people saw that much talent at a young age, and they said, these guys are going to be something special. Now, did we know how special Stevie Ray was going to be? I don't know. Maybe people back in that time could say we thought it was going to end up being the greatest. And for some people, Stevie or Ray can be considered the greatest. Some people think Stevie Wonder is the greatest artist of all time. Some people think his classic period in the 70s is the greatest of all time. Staying with that era in the 70s, you see Michael Jackson being about 7 or 8 years old when the Jackson 5 were doing a performance in front of some execs, if I'm not mistaken, and Michael Jackson was doing a James Brown impression. Excuse me. And he floored people. Like, this is unbelievable. This little boy has this type of energy, this voice, dancing. He was a reincarnation of James Brown at like 7, 8 years old. People could not believe it. So then it's like expectations are going to be insane. Jackson 5 becomes one of the biggest groups in America. He's a kid and he's the leader of Jackson 5. There was rumors at some point like, this kid, he becomes an adult, It's gonna be something special. By the time Off the Wall come out, Michael Jackson, one of the biggest stars in America, and close to become one of the biggest stars in the world. Then people are saying, what can happen after this? Because see, this is something different than anybody else. It's just something about him that is he gonna end up being the greatest? You know what I'm saying? From 8 years old to Off the Wall, it's like, wait a minute, what are we seeing here? You know what I'm saying? What are we seeing here? Next thing you know, Thriller comes. And that's when like the prophecy becomes true. Michael Jackson dropped Thriller, the biggest album in the world. He drops all those videos, and that's when people are saying, okay, he's the biggest pop star in the world. Is he the greatest all time yet in history? The rumbling started. After that, you turn around and you do Bad and Dangerous and all of this, and like I said, everything comes full circle. Michael Jackson is crowned the greatest. And at one point before his unfortunate passing away, dying, he was the biggest star in the world. And not just the biggest star in the world. Michael Jackson, potentially, when he died, was the most popular person on earth. So when y'all start trying to compare every big pop star to Michael Jackson, even as large as Madonna, people like that, where they still weren't Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson would literally be in a foreign country, and people who couldn't even speak English knew every word to his song damn near, and passing out, crying, passing out, they had to take people away just when he walked past them. Nobody's ever been that famous before. And this started from a kid, 8 years old, doing a James Brown rendition. Michael Jackson became the king of pop, undisputed forever. I don't think we'll ever see anyone as big as Michael Jackson, especially not in our lifetime. That the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, nobody from my era, a little bit younger, a little bit older, will ever see that again. You know what I'm saying? So he reached that full potential. Even if he wouldn't have passed away, his best days was already behind him in terms of music. There was nothing he could do to eclipse what he did. It was a height that nobody has reached and could reach. Not even Elvis Presley or the Beatles. You know what I'm saying? And they were massive, especially the Beatles. Elvis Presley was the man at one point in America. The Beatles were huge globally. But, and I said Elvis wasn't, but I'm just saying the Beatles was the closest thing probably to Michael Jackson in terms of popularity. But Mike exceeded every expectation. Coming full circle to hip hop, I named this Nas and Michael Jackson did it because Nas came out live at the barbecue. Streets Disciple, my raps a trifle, you know what I'm saying? And people were like, yo, the stuff he was saying, some of the shock value, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus, and waving automatic guns at nuns. People were like, yo, this guy, he's different. He's 17, 18 years old, however, and he was rapping a lot the way somebody like Rakim and G-Rap was rapping. So people started calling him the next Rakim. This is before he even had a single out. People was just saying, this guy, is gonna be, the golden child. Halftime come out, 1-on-1 on the Street Fighter soundtrack come out. People anticipate Nas' album and what he might be as far as an MC. People already comparing him to some greats as like a teen. He's like 18, 19 years old. Illmatic drops, and for New York, it's like this is something special. And even for MCs and fans across the country when they finally caught on to it, because Illmatic was not a commercial success, but it was critically acclaimed, and people said, okay, he has the goods. He has the goods, but I wonder how far it can go. Steve Stout said in the interview, I looked at Nas and said, look, man, I think the girls will like him. He got the talent. He got everything. And Steve Stout was basically saying, I got to make this guy a star because he should be a star. I said this on Twitter years ago. I said, man, people were criticizing It Was Written. Of course, this album that went 3 million sold, in 1996. And I told people back then, I was in college in 1996. I said, This joint's a classic right here off rip. Y'all just mad because look at the track listing and then look to who produced the songs, and you don't see the Illmatic producers. But some of them were on there. LES is on there, and DJ Premier is on there. But he also has the Trackmasters, who were very dope. I listened to Trackmasters discography before on Twitter. He had Havoc on there. You know what I'm saying? He had hard beats on there. I mean, for real. But nevertheless, Nas becomes a star. Outside of Tupac, he's the biggest rapper in 1996. Yes, Biggie was still alive. Biggie year was 1995 and 1997. Okay, do the knowledge. But 1996, Pac was on the West, Nas on the East. That's why they clash. You know what I'm saying? But Nas becomes this star, and Nas is looked at as, okay, this is what he deserves. You don't need to be the underground king. He has the full goods. Now the golden child is really shining. Turns around and drops I Am and becomes the first, big MC to get hit by Napster and LimeWire and everything when 13 tracks from the supposed or the schedule I Am double CD was going to drop. So Nas is about to have, it was written, well, Illmatic, it was written I Am back to back. The songs, I had a copy of it in like spring 1999. They still released I Am, a single CD, and then they released Nostradamus, which, wasn't the album that it could have been, of course, but he'd already got 13 songs that leaked already. So they really could have went on, to me, and went on to release a double CD anyway. I wish they would have done that. Nevertheless, Nas a major star. Major stars clash. Nas ended up clashing a few years later with the #1 MC at that time who had taken the reins, which is Jay-Z. Nas hears the takeover, wants to ignore it. Jay-Z drops the takeover, and the takeover is reminiscent of The Bridge Is Over with KRS-One and MC Shan. He bombed on Nas, Mobb Deep, Prodigy, and other people he didn't even have to name. DJ Premier and other people said in interviews, man, I thought Nas was over. Nas is not MC Shan, man. No diss to MC Shan. Nas comes back, defeats Jay-Z, drops Stillmatic. There's a song called Rewind Backwards. There's a song called One Mic. The video to One Mic just showed where Nas was at. And again, it's like the prophecy continues, man. He turns on that glow again, man. You know what I'm saying? Now you got, after that, the Lost Tapes is coming. Godson is coming. The song I Know, I Can, for the kids. He does a song called Dance. His mom had passed away. You know what I'm saying? He's still doing these creative songs that he does the Last Real Nigga Alive and talks about his career. But at the same time, during this whole era with these unreleased songs, he had songs called The Rise and Fall. Later, he had songs called Surviving the Times, where he talked about their career and expectations. He goes on to drop Street Disciple, Hip Hop is Dead, all these other albums, then he's quiet again. Then he dropped 4 years. He dropped Life is Good after his divorce. And it kind of reminiscent of Marvin Gaye's Here, My Dear. You know what I'm saying? About Khalees. And that was a comeback album for the ages. You go back and listen to it, everything Nas had done in his career, he put it all together on Life is Good. Locomotive reminds you of them 90s. He had joints like Stay, Roses, Where's the Love, Back When, reminiscent type song, storytelling. You wouldn't understand. You know what I mean? That's what Nas does. He did a joint Nasty. So he's back again, killing, and then he disappears again. Comes back a few years later and drops Nasir with Kanye West. I don't love Nasir, you know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, some people really, really like it. And again, this is Nas, linking again with others and coming strong for some. You know what I'm saying? Gets quiet another year or two. And Nas' career could have stopped right there. At this point, Nas is already considered one of the top 5 MCs of all time. The prophecy of the next Rakim, I believe, is warranted, and he accomplished that. And I think that could have been it. After Nasir, at the end of the day, Nas could have been done and still been top 5 all time. I had him like 2 or 3 at that time, and he's my favorite MC. But now what happens is something that nobody expected to happen. Like I said, Stevie Wonder had a classic period in the 70s. Marvin Gaye drops, What's Going On and Trouble Man and all of these joints. Let's get it on. I mean, all these joints. Here, my dear, all of this in the 70s. He dropped like 5 dope albums in the 70s. One of them being What's Going On, which is the greatest album of all time to me in the genre. Just like Nas having Illmatic, that's enough for some people. But then the Hit Boy run starts. And Nas drops KD1, KD2, KD3, Magic 1, Magic 2, Magic 3. This man dropped 6 albums in basically, 3.5 years, 4 years less. This has never happened on this kind of scale from this type of MC on that level in the history of rap music. It's only happened in other genres, to be honest. Somebody dropping 6 albums in 3 or 4 years has never happened in hip hop like that. 6 albums. So, and with one producer. This goes back to what Nas was going to be, what he turned out to be. I believe this last run, for me personally, puts Nas as the number 1 MC of all time. I think it cannot be overlooked. I was listening to KD3 the other day, and for you to be this late in your career and drop potentially a top 5, top 6 album in a 30-year discography catalog career is something simply amazing. Then I put Magic 1 in again, and I was like, wow, man, that song Speechless. The way he was rapping, it's like he went back in a time capsule. Songs on KD2, Magic 3, Japanese Soul Bar. Based on the True Events 1 and 2 on Magic 3. Even the Office albums on Magic 2. What he's done. And KD2 has some amazing songs on it. KD3 was critically acclaimed. You can go look it up. KD2 got like 4 stars on All Music. You know what I'm saying? Who else has done something like this? All expectations have been met from Nasir Jones. He turned 50 years old on the 50th year of hip hop. If that ain't prophecy, what is? He has massive his own label. He drops these albums on his own label. He does the huge Hip Hop 50 event at Yankee Stadium. He turned 50 on his 50th birthday. He dropped Magic 3. He's part of this dedication and this new event where legends are going to be, giving their flowers. I think there's a financial benefit for it too. And Scarface and Rakim were 2 of them. And Nas was there. He was presenting. He was a part of the event. He had something to do with it. All on the 50th year of hip hop. Full circle, the Golden Child rapper on Main Source Breaking Albums album to being 50 years old on the 50th year hip hop and doing what he did. I do believe that Nas is the greatest MC of all time. Now, not just with the skills, but with what he did for Hip Hop 50, added to that type of career, never unprecedented. Same way what Michael Jackson did Off the Wall, then did Thriller. Unprecedented. With everything else he did in his career, unprecedented. Even with the Stevie Wonder type and Marvin Gaye type, Nas goes to a special class of musicians. Your Duke Ellington, your Miles Davis. This ain't hyperbole, man. For hip hop culture, what he's done has been incredible, man. And he met every expectation, yo. So I'm just driving, man, doing a little commute. Want to touch base with everyone, man. Happy Tuesday, man. Blessings.